This story is about a child who comes from another planet and grows up among humans. But when he turns 12, he develops a superpower so strong that he tries to destroy mankind and rule the entire world. What horrible things he does to the world, we will see in today's story. The movie starts with a couple named Kyle and Tori. Both are living a happy life together, but even after many years of marriage, they still don't have a child. One night, they hear a strange sound and feel a shock. When they go outside, they see something has crashed in front of their house, glowing with a red light. It is actually a spaceship. The scene shifts, and we see clips of a child. This is the same child they found inside that spaceship. Considering it a miracle, they decide to raise the baby as their own and name him Brandon. Slowly, Brandon grows up and turns 10. Kyle and Tori love him like their real son. Now Brandon goes to school and is much smarter and faster than other kids. He answers every question perfectly, but one night, the spaceship they had locked inside a shed starts glowing with red light. At the same time in his room, Brandon starts shaking strangely. Suddenly, he gets up, goes to the window, and jumps outside. Hearing the noise, Tori comes out but finds nothing. As she turns to go back inside, something suddenly moves past her very fast. She thinks Brandon is just playing around. Then she sees Brandon trying to open the door of the shed where the spaceship is kept. She gets scared and stops him. Brandon suddenly comes back to his senses, and Tori calms him down. Thinking he must have sleepwalked there, she takes him back to bed. The next day, Kyle and Brandon are fixing a piece of furniture. Kyle tells Brandon to cut the grass while he finishes some work. Brandon tries to start the lawnmower, but it doesn't start. He pulls the cord hard, and the machine flies far away. Shocked, Brandon walks toward it and sees the spinning blade still rotating. He stops the blade with his bare hand, but nothing happens to his hand. Instead, the blade bends. Brandon is stunned and confused. Later, we see Brandon's birthday celebration. His uncle Noah gifts him a gun, but Kyle doesn't allow him to keep it and says he is too young. Brandon gets angry and misbehaves with his dad. Because of this, Kyle cancels the party and they return home. The next day, Kyle and Tori plan a trip with Brandon. They set up camp in the woods. Kyle and Brandon go hunting, and Kyle gives him advice about teenage life. Later that night, everyone sleeps, but Tori wakes up and finds Brandon missing. The scene cuts to Brandon's classmate Caitlin, who is sleeping. Suddenly, her laptop turns on and starts playing music. She shuts it, but it opens again and plays loudly. Frightened, she closes it and places books on it. Suddenly, she sees Brandon standing outside her window and gets terrified, screaming for her mom. When her mom arrives, no one is there. Meanwhile, Kyle and Tori are searching for Brandon, and suddenly Brandon appears in front of Tori, saying he just went out to use the washroom. The next night, Kyle is in the garage when he hears chickens screaming. Thinking it might be wolves, he loads a gun and goes to check. There, he sees Brandon staring strangely at the chickens. Kyle asks him what he is doing there, but Brandon gives no proper answer and leaves. Late at night, when everyone is sleeping, Kyle again hears the chickens screaming. When he goes outside, he sees that all the chickens have been brutally killed by someone. He takes Tori there and tells her that he is sure Brandon did this, because a few hours earlier he saw Brandon here staring at the chickens strangely. But Tori refuses to believe this and says a 1-2-year-old kid can't do something like this. It must have been wolves. The next day at school, the teacher is teaching the children a trust fall game, where one child stands in the middle of a circle and the others catch him so he doesn't fall. When it's Brandon's turn, his classmate Caitlin deliberately doesn't catch him, and he falls down. When the teacher tells Caitlin to help Brandon up, she extends her hand toward him. Brandon grabs it and breaks her hand. After this, Brandon's parents are called to school. Caitlin's mother angrily shouts and tells the principal that Brandon should be expelled. But the principal calls it a childish incident and only suspends Brandon for 2 days. When they return home, Kyle tells Tori that Brandon has been behaving very strangely lately, and he himself is strange because he has never gotten even a single scratch or injury in his entire life. He says, "We already know he is not really our child, but whatever is happening is very strange." That night, while Brandon is sleeping, the same red light starts glowing again, and strange voices come from it. Brandon wakes up, goes to the shed, breaks the lock this time, and opens the door. The spaceship starts glowing red again, and Brandon suddenly rises into the air and begins mumbling in a strange alien language. Tori is awake and sees red light coming from the garage. She rushes there and sees Brandon floating above the spaceship, acting strangely. She gets scared and tries to grab him, but Brandon suddenly falls down. His hand touches the spaceship and gets injured, his first injury ever. Brandon is shocked because this has never happened to him before. Tori comforts him. Brandon asks, "Who am I?" and what is happening to me. Tori finally tells him everything, that he is not their real child. They didn't adopt him from any NGO. They found him inside a spaceship that crashed one night. Hearing this, Brandon becomes extremely angry. He goes home and starts breaking things. Kyle asks what happened, and Tori tells him she revealed the truth to Brandon. Brandon comes outside angrily, his eyes glowing red, and says, "I won't spare anyone. I will kill everyone." Then we see Caitlin using her laptop when suddenly it shuts down. She turns around and finds Brandon standing there. Brandon tells her not to scream, that he just came to talk and he brought her flowers. Caitlin says her mom has forbidden her from talking to him. Brandon tells her not to worry, he will fix everything. In a blink, he places the flowers on her laptop and vanishes. Next, we see Caitlin's mom, Erica, closing her restaurant late at night. She notices strange symbols drawn all over the restaurant windows. Lights start flickering on and off by themselves. When she goes near the lights to check, the bulb suddenly explodes and a glass shard pierces her eye. She painfully removes it, but she can no longer see from that eye. Suddenly, Brandon appears in front of her, wearing a mask. Terrified, Erica runs into a room and locks herself inside. But Brandon uses his laser eyes to cut the door in half and bursts inside at extremely high speed, killing her brutally. The next morning, police arrive and begin investigating. They are confused because no robbery occurred, only a murder. Then they notice a strange symbol on the restaurant glass and decide to investigate it. Meanwhile, Brandon's Aunt Mary, who is a school counselor, takes him aside and tries to talk to him. She asks him whether he feels any guilt for what he did to Caitlin. Brandon calmly says that we must understand whatever bad happens to us actually happens for a good reason, and he feels no regret at all. Mary says, "I'm not just your school counselor, I'm also your aunt. I want your counseling report to be positive so that tomorrow I can send it to your mom and the school principal. And since this matter has reached the police too, whatever report I get, whether positive or negative, I'll have to send it to them as well." Now it becomes night. Mary is at home doing some work when suddenly the doorbell rings. She opens the door and finds Brandon standing there. She asks, "Why have you come here so late at night?" Brandon replies, "I needed to talk to you urgently. I want to request you not to send the report you're planning to give to the police and my parents tomorrow. That will be better for everyone, including you." Mary firmly replies, "I know what is right and what is wrong. You don't need to teach me that. I will definitely send the report tomorrow, whatever it is. And now you should leave." Saying this, she shuts the door and goes to sleep, but Brandon sneaks back into the house again. Meanwhile, Mary's husband Noah returns home, goes to the bathroom to brush, and suddenly senses someone in the bedroom. When he goes to check, he finds Brandon hiding there, wearing his mask. Noah gets angry, grabs Brandon, drags him outside, and tells him to sit in the car. Brandon refuses, but Noah forcefully tries to make him sit in the car. Brandon gets furious, and his eyes begin glowing red. The force throws Noah far away. Somehow, Noah gets up, sits in his car, and decides to inform Brandon's parents about everything. But after driving a while, his car suddenly breaks down. He then sees Brandon floating in the air right in front of his car. Noah can't believe his eyes, looks again, and Brandon disappears. Suddenly, Noah's car lifts into the air. Brandon takes the car very high and then drops it from the sky. Noah's jaw is completely shattered when his face slams into the steering wheel. Before he dies, Brandon stands in front of him, removes his mask, and using Noah's blood, draws the same strange symbol on the road that he drew when he killed Erica. Meanwhile, Brandon's parents are worried at home because it's already very late and Brandon hasn't returned from school. They start calling people to find out where he is. Then Brandon finally comes home. His parents rush to him and ask where he has been so late. Brandon says some of his friends called him to play after school, but they started teasing him and even tore his shirt, so he walked all the way back home. When Tori asks him to give her the shirt, Brandon refuses and goes straight to his room. Kyle and Tori now strongly suspect that Brandon is lying and hiding something. Later that night, Tori gets a call from Mary saying she's in the hospital. Kyle and Tori rush there and learn that Noah had an accident. Mary also tells them that Brandon came to their house last night. Now, Kyle is convinced that Brandon is behind all of this. They return home and tell Brandon that his uncle Noah died in an accident. Brandon doesn't show any emotion at all. Kyle starts questioning him angrily and says, "We know you were there last night. What are you hiding from us? Tell us now." Brandon becomes furious and violently pushes Kyle. Kyle crashes into a cupboard so hard that it breaks. Both Kyle and Tori are shocked to see how powerful Brandon has become. Tori sends Brandon to his room, but Kyle is now fully convinced that Brandon is killing people one by one. Kyle goes to Brandon's room and searches for the shirt Brandon refused to give earlier. After searching for some time, he finds it and it's stained with blood. He shows it to Tori and says, "This is all Brandon's doing. He is dangerous for us. He will kill us all one by one." But Tori still doesn't believe Kyle and gets angry at him. She walks away. That night, we see Kyle crying while looking at his son's photo. He now fully understands that Brandon is behind all the murders and that only he can stop him. So he makes a heartbreaking decision to kill his own son. He goes to Tori and tells her that the next day he will take Brandon on a weekend trip. Tori agrees. The next morning, Kyle leaves with Brandon. After they go, a police officer investigating the previous murders visits Tori and asks about Brandon. Tori tells him Brandon has gone on a weekend trip with his dad. The officer then shows her a picture of a strange symbol and says, "We found this same mark at 2 different murder scenes." Tori says she knows nothing about it. After the officer leaves, Tori goes to Brandon's room, opens his notebook, and discovers drawings of everything he has done, along with the same symbol. Now, she finally understands that Brandon really killed everyone. Meanwhile, Kyle takes Brandon to a forest area under the excuse of hunting. When Brandon walks a little ahead of him, Kyle shoots him in the back of the head, but Brandon is completely unharmed. Shocked and terrified, Kyle reloads the gun, but suddenly, Brandon disappears. Kyle panics and runs to save his life. Brandon suddenly attacks from behind, throwing him to the ground, then grabs him. Kyle begs, "Please don't kill me! I'm your dad!" But Brandon doesn't listen. His eyes glow red and he kills Kyle with his laser vision. Back at home, Tori now knows Brandon is behind everything. She tries calling Kyle, but Brandon answers the phone. She asks, "Where is your dad?" Brandon replies, "He's gone now." Tori realizes Brandon has killed Kyle. Brandon then says, "I've come back for you." Terrified, Tori hides and calls the police. The police arrive and begin searching for her. Suddenly, Brandon brutally kills one of the officers. Only a female officer is left, who tells Tori to go inside. She calls for backup and searches for Brandon, but he eventually finds and kills her too. Brandon then starts hunting for Tori. She somehow escapes through a window, injuring her hand. Then she remembers Brandon can only be killed using the spaceship he came with. She rushes to the barn, breaks a sharp metal piece from the spaceship, and prepares herself. She then calls Brandon lovingly, pretending to care for him. After some time, Brandon appears and hugs his mother. While calmly talking to him, Tori tries to stab him from behind with the spaceship shard, but Brandon grabs her hand. Furious, he flies her 35,000 feet into the sky and drops her. Tori falls to her death. But in reality, Brandon planned everything, so people wouldn't suspect him. In the end, we see that Brandon has brought destruction across the world. Media gives him a new name, Brightburn, and with this, the story ends.